Indiana Jones and the Great Circle has been out now for about a week, and we have some more numbers on it on how it's doing on Xbox. We've seen some of the Steam numbers, and those were a little underwhelming, but Xbox seems like it is doing very well. Something's happening with the older Call of Duty. Still not sure what it is, but we have an update on that. The new Nvidia GPUs have essentially been leaked, and then we have a bunch of information on some major games that are in development and coming out, like Far Cry 7, the next Tiny Tina's Wonderland, and PlayStation PSSR. Is it an issue? Do developers want to use it? It's looking like, as I've said many times, it is a beta test. Now, we will talk about all this stuff plus more, but if you do like daily gaming news and content, make sure to hit that subscribe, share the video, like the video, all of that stuff. Now, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a phenomenal game. I am about 12 hours in now. I would say maybe I'm about halfway through or so. I've just been exploring and trying to get as much done in the game in each hub world that you land on as you go through it. It's a very well-made game. If you're a fan of Indiana Jones at all, or even if you're just kind of a casual fan of the series, the story and everything is very, very cool, and I recommend checking it out. We've seen the reviews, got very good reviews, but it seems like it hasn't fully translated into insane sales for this game. Maybe that's because of when it's released. Maybe Indiana Jones isn't as popular as people like to make it out to be, but we've seen the Steam numbers. It isn't doing insane on Steam. We see here all-time peak of 12,000 players on Steam. But the question I think a lot of people have when we're looking at games like this that release day one on Xbox and Xbox Game Pass is, how does this game do on the Xbox platform? Because you're going to get tons of people playing it there. And it looks like it is actually doing pretty well. Xbox is going to be the platform where most people are checking it out on. And we have here Rebs Gaming, who tweets this out, that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is number 7 on Microsoft's most played Xbox games charts, and the only single player game in the top 15, and the most played game on Game Pass. So that is a major achievement, because Game Pass has like 30 plus million subscribers. You'd have to guess that there's a large chunk of those that are jumping into Indiana Jones. You took a look at some of the games that is surrounding it. You have like Minecraft and Rainbow Six and Forza Horizon 5, EA Sports College Football, which is one of the best-selling games of the year, Grand Theft Auto 5. All that being said, Indiana Jones overall is doing decent here on Xbox. Actually doing pretty good as the only single-player game in the top 15. I wonder if this will translate into overall commercial success in terms of how Xbox evaluates it. Will we even get that information from them? But it does seem like it isn't selling as crazy as some people would have thought it would sell, even with it getting the best reviews out there. I mean, 9s out of 10, some 10s out of 10s, and lots of 8s and stuff. So it is reviewed very well. It is a very good game. And on Xbox, it's doing well. Steam, not so much, but we will see how it continues to grow as more people jump in and play. It did release at the beginning of December. That is, I would say, a tougher spot to put out a game in terms of slotting it in with all of the other big hitters out there, or just after some of them have come out. A lot of people are still going to be playing that. A lot of people may wait until Christmas to jump into this. And obviously with that release date, it misses the Game Awards, where you don't get really any recognition. Luckily at the Game Awards, there was the opening kind of act, you could say, where Harrison Ford came out, which was a pretty cool moment. But Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, regardless of state overall sales, a very strong release here by Machine Games and by Xbox in terms of the quality of the game. Now, as we know, Call of Duty day one in Game Pass is huge, and I really hope that they bring over the older games to Game Pass as well. I mean, we've talked about this a while. It does always seem like they're signaling on doing this. They just haven't done it yet, and we have some more information that would show something's happening here with these older games. Xbox achievements have been added to past Call of Duty titles for Windows PC. Now, of course, these games already have achievements on Xbox, but the achievements are for Call of Duty World War II, Ghosts, Black Ops 3, and Advanced Warfare. So if you are playing them on PC, you're going to be able to get access to those achievements. It is also just that whole integration here, that seamless integration between PC and Xbox. I talked a bit about this yesterday, how big of an advantage Xbox does have, I would say, over PlayStation going forward with that seamless PC integration with Play Anywhere, with being able to take your saves easily between devices. PlayStation doesn't do that. Even cloud saves are still locked behind PlayStation Plus, which to me is kind of absurd. So we will see if they announce anything here for Call of Duty in 2025, all dropping into Game Pass, something along those lines. I just feel like it is a no-brainer at this point. People will still go out and buy them, even if they're on Game Pass. They're always on sale for very, very cheap, and I'm sure they still do pretty well in the overall sales. But at some point, drop some of these into Game Pass, even if you drip feed one at a time or two at a time or something. And then you may see those online servers that have been revitalized here by Xbox that have been fixed. They may start having tons more players in it and just giving us a really cool experience going forward. All right, so the next generation of consoles is going to be coming up, I would say, maybe in like 2 years, a year or two at least, where we'll start seeing and hearing more about what is coming from the at-home powerful versions of the next Xbox and the next PlayStation. Then there's always going to be those comparisons of how they compare. They will never compare to the top of the line newest GPUs, and the 50 series of Nvidia cards are on the way. People are basically now just sitting and waiting for the official announcements, but it looks like here that we've seen them now on Zotac's website. So we have this here, Nvidia GeForce's RTX 50 series GPU spotted on Zotac's website. This is spotted by Video Cards, and they featured listings for the upcoming next-gen RTX 50 series GPUs, and the listings have now been removed, but players can filter the GPUs on the website by GDDR7 memory and the 32 gigabyte capacity. It says 5 new Nvidia GeForce RTX 50 series GPUs surfaced on the website: the RTX 5090, the RTX 5090D, which is a China exclusive, the RTX 5080, the RTX 5070 Ti, and the RTX 5070, but it did not feature the 5060 and the 5080D, and I'm guessing the 5080D is also a China exclusive. And again, confirmed that they are 32 gigabytes GDDR7 memory on upcoming GPUs. So it's going to be interesting to see when we get that official announcement, when we do see the comparisons as to how these new GPUs improve on the current 40 series GPUs, and then obviously the overall cost of them. But those will kind of be the top benchmark, I would say, before the release of the next generation consoles. The consoles won't be in the 50 series GPUs. Maybe they will compare to the 40 series, which is still very good. I mean, you're still going to get a great performance out of that. And then obviously you have to think about how does that affect the overall price of the next gen consoles? And I think it's going to make them relatively expensive. $700 base price is my estimation if they are going to be releasing big at-home consoles. Well, I hope I'm wrong. I hope they can get those costs down and still give us a great value for our dollar, because I think with the current Series X and the PlayStation 5, we did get good value for the dollar on those. Even today, games still look and run very good on the Series X and the PS5. But I hope we get something like that where they can still keep that base price at like maybe $500 instead of the $700. All right, let's talk some Game Awards a little bit more. As we know, Game of the Year went to Astro Bot. There's a lot of controversy surrounding that. A lot of people think it doesn't deserve it because it's a shorter game. It's a more like kids style platformy game, even though it is difficult. So I don't know how successful that many kids would be to get through to the very end. But I think overall, I'm okay with it winning Game of the Year. I'm happy to see that style of game, a platformer, a game that focuses far more on gameplay than cinematic video games, which I feel like for a lot of people, they focus a lot more on like the cinematic, the graphics, the actors in video games. And I just feel like that takes away the essence of what a video game is. The video games are supposed to be fun. At first and foremost, gameplay is supposed to be what makes games good. And Astro Bot had great gameplay. So I'm okay with them winning it. And at the same time, I hope this pushes PlayStation to make more games like that in the future, not just focus on those third-person cinematic style of games. But one developer who does not believe Astro Bot should have won, or at least is very sad that they didn't win, is Game Science, the developers behind Black Myth Wukong. A lot of people think that that game deserved Game of the Year. I have not played yet, so I can't really give my 2 cents on it. But here is an article from Eurogamer, and it says Black Myth Wukong producer on the Game Awards top prize snub, saying, "I came all this way here for nothing." And here is what the CEO, Feng Yi, has posted following the Game Awards. They say, "The games nominated this year were all exceptional, but honestly, I still can't figure out what the criteria were for Game of the Year. I feel like I came all the way here for nothing." He continues on here and says, "Since last night, I've seen a lot of strong dissatisfaction and frustration in players. Comments often expressed humorously or ironically, which made me laugh." He says, "I completely understand these feelings and share the frustration because behind these emotions lies not pain or malice, but dignity and confidence." So they're confused here in the criteria. I think most people are confused in how these games are selected. Yes, we know that Jeff Keighley doesn't vote on the awards, but he allows the game journalists to go out there and vote on the awards. And a lot of people think that it should be done slightly differently. Now, I do think that the journalists should have a say in a vote, but maybe expand that out to more outlets, maybe expand it out to more individual creators and have a broader range of people who get to actually vote on this thing. Because he sends it out to the big video game websites. They are transparent in who votes, like what websites vote, but we don't know who at those websites actually get to vote on this stuff and their background, where they lean. Do they have a bias of some sort? I'm sure most people do, because that's just human nature. But that is the question that gets called in here whenever we see these game awards and everything. There will always be controversy. If Black Myth Wukong won, at the end of the day, there would have been controversy around that, and people would have thought that another game deserved to win. Astro Bot has a lot of people talking about the PlayStation slant, or the PlayStation lean to get it game of the year. And I can't say that I know that that is there, but a lot of people do believe that is something that does happen here at the Game Awards, and the overall media does lean more towards their style of game. So we'll see what happens going forward. I still think I'm okay with Astro Bot winning, if I'm being completely honest, because I personally, it's about getting the style of games for me that I believe should dictate the future and should dictate what makes games great. It's all about fun gameplay, more so than the crazy cinematics and the movies that they do throw into video games. Those have their place, but to me, gameplay comes out first and foremost as the main criteria of being a very good game. All right. When it comes to Astro Bot, one of the things that people also say why it doesn't deserve it, which I don't agree with this. I don't think the actual sales of a game matters to determine if a game is game of the year, because it's not determining what is the best selling game of the year. You can be giving it to Call of Duty and Madden pretty much every single year if we went off of that. But the sales of Astro Bot, the attachment rate, did not do very good. I mean, it is low, and this isn't surprising because the actual first party attachment rate for PlayStation games to the PlayStation 5 gamers is low. It's not what sells the consoles. It's not what pushes consoles. Most people don't buy PlayStation 5s to play first-party games. Most people buy them to play the third-party stuff. That's where Xbox and PlayStation make the majority of their money, is off of third-party sales and making microtransactions for their third-party games through their own stores and everything. We have this here, Matt Piscatella. He tweets this out or Blue Sky, whatever. I don't even know what that's called because I'm not on Blue Sky. As of the end of October, Astro Bot was the 14th best-selling game of 2024 in PS5 US tracked full game dollar sales, and ranked as the 27th bestseller overall. A single-digit percentage of US PlayStation 5 owners have purchased Astro Bot to date. More PS5 owners should pick up Astro Bot. And the key is a single-digit percentage in the US of PS5 owners have purchased Astro Bot. And that tells you everyone talks about these games. And this is kind of potentially the same thing with Indiana Jones. Now, the Xbox numbers from what we saw in the charts are pretty good, but everyone talks about these games like they're hyping them up to be the best thing in the world. A lot of people are just talking about them and not actually going out there buying them and playing them. Astro Bot is definitely one of those games. The attachment rate is very low. And that, unfortunately, I think will determine more for PlayStation as to whether they continue along the lines of making games like this. We'll see if there's a boost now, though, with winning Game of the Year. It always gives that game a slight boost here in sales. And I hope it does, because, like I said, I want to see more of that stuff. Now, PlayStation 5 Pro, PSSR. I've talked about this multiple times on this channel, and I'm not trying to hate on the PS5 Pro. I personally don't think it's worth it for the price. And the more information that comes out as of right now, I still don't think it is worth it. I've said right from the beginning, the PS5 Pro is a beta test for PSSR, which can be great and may be great in the future. But right now it's a beta test so it can collect information for the machine learning and then be able to utilize all that stuff and then really roll it out fully, I would say, with the PlayStation 6. And the more information that comes out, the more I do continue to believe this. We have this here. Alan Wake 2 updates targets for the PlayStation 5 Pro issues and lets players turn off PSSR upscaling. The PSSR is basically the reason why you would buy a PS5 Pro. The extra power that it gives you from the GPU is not going to make a very big difference at all in these games. The CPU is the same. So it's just the PSSR as the main reason why you buy a PS5 Pro. And now a game is turning it off. So it's basically rendering your $700 PS5 Pro a waste. And here is the reasoning behind it. They say PSSR is an AI-driven upscaling technology designed to provide super sharp image clarity by adding an extraordinary amount of detail. However, not all developers have been able to harness it as planned since the console's launch last month, and recently, some have started letting players switch it off entirely. Last week, Ubisoft gave Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora players the choice to disable PSSR, which sees the game reverting to the same upscaling technology offered by the base PlayStation 5. And again, this basically renders your PS5 Pro, the $700 price tag, the $1,000 price tag if you live in Canada, useless. It basically means you kind of wasted your money. And it says here, and a new Alan Wake 2 update released on Monday does likewise. While the patch includes several fixes across all platforms, Remedy said it's largely focused on improving the game's performance on the PS5 Pro. And the reason that this to me is concerning isn't because I think PSSR is going to be a failed technology. It's because the PS5 Pro, how many years is this thing actually going to be out, and how are you going to get the full value of your money before the PS6? Because the PSSR is going to be in the PlayStation 6. And at that point, I think we're really going to start to see the advantages of it as developers utilize it better, know how to use it better. The tools, as everybody says, with these consoles, once that starts hitting, I think it'll be great. And it'll be interesting to see how it compares to the upscaling tech that Xbox is going to have in their console. But as of right now, you're only going to have 2, maybe 3 years of PS5 Pro being the most powerful, latest console in the market before the next generation. And if developers are turning it off and not using it, then you're kind of just wasting your time and money with the PlayStation 5 Pro. So maybe there'll be a fix soon, and maybe it'll be great again. But as of right now, it is still in beta and needs some fine tuning. Okay, let's talk some games, some more games here. Tiny's Tina Wonderland sequel. I have the first game. I still haven't played it yet. I don't know why. I should check it out. But the second game apparently has been canceled, but is now been updated here that it is still in development. Interesting story here from MP First. And it says that unannounced Tiny Tina's Wonderland sequel canceled, but there is an update saying that the unnamed 2K employee has mentioned that Tiny Tina's Wonderland 2 is still in active development, though no further details were shared, and Gearbox has yet to give us a proper reply to our inquiry about the game's development status. So this was the sequel to that spin-off of the Borderlands series. You know, Borderlands 4 was shown off at the Game Awards. I think it looks cool. I'm not like insanely excited for it, but I will end up checking it out. And Tiny Tina's Wonderland was just another style of that game if you wanted to go and play more of it. I don't believe it sold insanely well. It probably did enough for them to want to consider making a sequel. And there were the rumors here that it was canceled, but it looks like it is still in active development. And I wonder when or if we will actually see it anytime soon. All right. And 2 more stories, both having to do with Ubisoft. One of them with their continued integration here with Steam. We have this here saying that Ubisoft has added Steam achievements to various games recently. Ghost Recon, Assassin's Creed titles, all getting achievements here if you want to go play these via Steam. One of the things that Ubisoft is now kind of kicking themselves for was not releasing Star Wars Outlaws in Steam. Assassin's Creed now we know is coming out in Steam. And they kind of were putting them all just in their Uplay launcher, which the reality is a lot of people just want to play all their games on Steam. I feel like if you're a developer and you're a publisher and you are putting games launching only on like the Epic Game Store or something and just avoiding Steam, that deal isn't going to pay off for you. And avoiding that Steam launcher, we're starting to see backfire on a lot of companies out here. So Steam is the main place on PC. And by not putting it there, you're missing a ton of gamers. Ubisoft is learning from this, which is a good thing. And I don't think they are going to be missing the Steam release on day one anymore going forward for their games. And one of their next games that is going to be huge is Far Cry 7. We also have another one here, Project Maverick, that we do have an update here from Tom Henderson and Insider Gaming. And he talks here about both games, saying here that in 2023, Insider Gaming had several reports on the Far Cry series throughout the year. Notably, the Far Cry series currently has 2 games in development, which are both originally under the same game and codename Talisker. Its next mainline title is now under the codename Blackbird, and an extraction-based shooter is under the codename Maverick, which is interesting because I already tried this with Rainbow Six Extraction, which I don't think did that great. It was a fun game. I played it, but I don't think it did very good commercially. And it looks like they're going to try it again here with the Far Cry series. It says both games are still in development at the time of writing, but the release dates have been pushed back internally from 2025 to 2026 due to the complexities in the development. They're moving from the Dunya engine to the Snowdrop engine. under the development at Ubisoft Montreal, and both games are set to move away from the Far Cry formula. I'm kind of conflicted on that because I like the Far Cry formula. It is fun, but it is getting a little long in the tooth. And if they're coming out with something very cool that's different, I will be interested in seeing that. They say that Maverick, which takes place in Alaskan wilderness, will see players fight one another, animals, and the harsh weather to survive. I think the Alaskan wilderness will be a very, very cool thing. So that's cool to hear. And then on the flip side, Blackbird will now see players have to rescue the family, not played by Cillian Murphy, who have been kidnapped by a conspiracy cult who have been performing hallucinogenic experiments on animals and children. It's said that players have 24 real-life hours, 72 hours in-game to rescue their family, and the timer is reflected in-game by the players wearing a watch on their wrists. That sounds actually pretty interesting. Real-life hours, 24 real-life hours to go in there and rescue your family in this conspiracy cult style of setting, which sounds very cool. They say here that the gameplay loop of both games is changing, but that's not the only thing. It says here it's understood that both games have added significant overall to their movement systems too, including the addition of tactical sprinting, sliding, vaulting, and more. It's nice to see. And seemingly this is due to both projects originating from the same game and sharing similar movement mechanics, with the similarities of both games bleeding into one another. And other aspects include inventory system and looting appear to bleed from the extraction-based shooter into Blackbird 2, with sources outlining that it doesn't affect the mainline entry, specifically saying, I'd argue it makes a lot of sense given your desperation to rescue your family. And internally, Ubisoft Montreal and its supporting studios on Blackbird are optimistic, but some concerns over Maverick and its future loom given recent events at the publisher. And of course, that has to do with potentially being bought out, Tencent coming in, and just the overall state of Ubisoft, which we're continuously just getting more bad news about it as we go forward here. Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be a huge moment for Ubisoft and probably helping determine the future of that company. And finally, they say Ubisoft has been attempting to do Far Cry multiplayer for the best part of a decade. And while an extraction shooter could make a lot of sense for the Far Cry universe, it was ultimately greenlit to chase trends, and the genre doesn't seem to have attracted the player numbers that the industry thought it would. And that is right there the biggest issue with Ubisoft recently, is chasing trends. Their main games, I enjoy them. Like, I've enjoyed Star Wars Outlaws, I enjoy the Assassin's Creed series, I've enjoyed Far Cry, even the last one and everything. But then they put off these spin-offs and everything that are trying to chase trends. They're sinking a bunch of money into these games and they're just not doing well. And that's going to affect their entire portfolio if they're losing money trying to chase trends. So hopefully something changes there from the management. And if this extraction shooter does end up coming out, hopefully it does well for these series, because then who knows how that's going to affect the future of Far Cry. But overall, a change in the formula, I think, will be good. It will be fresh, especially if the movement is better and everything, and they change up the inventory system. That will be cool to see, and I'm excited about the settings that they have announced here for these two games. But I will end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
We'll be right back.